Welcome back. The White House has intervened after what they call a very alarming series of fake explicit images were shared online of the pop star Taylor Swift. The Biden administration has called on Congress to take legislative action over the deepfakes. Joining me now is Mutale Nkonde, who is a visiting policy fellow at the Oxford Internet Institute and advised US Congress on the Deepfakes Accountability Act. A very warm welcome to you this afternoon. How prevalent is the use of this deepfake technology at the moment? It seems like we knew about it sort of within the last 10 years, but it seems to really be taking off.
Well, there isn't good data to actually say how many people are using it, but what we do know are the tools that are meant to develop it are cheaper, they're easy to access, and they're increasingly being kind of launched on the App Store and other places. And I think that's what makes it so worrying, particularly in cases like this Taylor Swift story, where it could literally be somebody in their bedroom that had enough pictures to unfortunately create these images.
And what do we know about the diffusion of these deep fakes? Because I think studies do show, don't they, that they take off like wildfire on social media.
Well, I think we all saw in the pandemic that a lie goes around the world much faster than the truth. And the very unfortunate thing about deep fakes is we've been trained culturally to believe what we see, but not necessarily believe what we hear. This kind of idea that what you're seeing is authentic. And something like non-consensual porn not only has this kind of salacious quality, so people want to see it. When you add Taylor Swift, who's undoubtedly one of the biggest pop stars in the world, and the fact that she doesn't own the rights to all her own visuals in the way that a Beyonce does, then you get wildfire. And then if you think about the idea that she's America's sweetheart, this is somebody that we've watched grow up. So for these types of images to be out about a woman that we're used to being seen as extremely young is extremely worrying, but it's not just Taylor Swift that's at risk. This could happen to you or I, Sam, and it could have devastating, effects in our lives.
Yeah, I pity anybody that has to look at any kind of deepfake explicit videos of me. The US, though, has been renowned, hasn't it, in terms of being light touch regulation on social media companies. Typically, somebody would have to invoke defamation law in order to get something stopped or taken down. It's interesting that the White House has perked up over this.
Well, the White House has really been making moves on what they see as the next iteration of the US economy, if not the global economy, which is this introduction of AI systems across all sectors of our economy and society. And actually, at the end of last year, they had put out an executive order that basically says that the biased use of technology is something that Congress should be looking at and US society as a whole should be looking at as a priority. And this use of deepfake technology to really target women, in this case, a particular very famous woman, a very rich woman, Taylor Swift, kind of very much falls into the priorities that they've set forth as the way we're going to think about AI technologies in one of the countries that does the most R&D in the world, with the exception of China.
AI legislation in general has been being developed rapidly, hasn't it, in many places around the world. The EU has very much led the charge on this, the UK as well. Everything seems to be slower in this regard in the United States.
We're, as you said earlier, Sam, we're a light regulation touch society, but beyond that, there is an idea in the United States. I was part of the insight panels that we had here in Congress at the end of last year, and it was very interesting listening to colleagues from industry, colleagues from what would be considered the Conservative Party here in the US, and what they were fearful was that regulation would slow down economic gain. And I think for people like me that really study these technologies and particularly study their impact on society, Our argument is that regulation is part of the innovation cycle because we do not want incidents like this to become commonplace, because it's going to stop adoptions of the technology. And so I think the more...
Sorry to interrupt you. We're nearly out of time. In a year where we have an election, that's got to be a concern, hasn't it? This wildfire spread of deepfakes.
Yes, certainly. And there is legislation in the US to look at this in political environments, because imagine that this was a candidate saying something that they hadn't said, doing something that they hadn't done. That could definitely sway the electorate.
All right. Fascinating to talk to you on Sky News. Thank you for getting up early to talk to us.
Thank you.